Welcome to your Barbados Today evening news update for Wednesday, October 30th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. Illegal drugs worth more than $8.5 million have been destroyed. The haul consisted of 161.4 kilograms of cocaine with an estimated street value of over $8 million and about 140 kilograms of cannabis worth some $550,000. Acting Superintendent of Police and Deputy Divisional Commander of the Bridgetown Division, Peter Gibson, says the drugs were seized from different parts of the country.
And this morning we had to destroy some drugs. These cases were adjudicated. Some of the drugs were found at various spots around the country. We have burning drugs from the exhibit facility at Central Police Station, and we also have some from all the divisions within on the island. We have Black Rock, we have District F, we have Hastings and Worthing. So all the other stations will have cases that were adjudicated. They are here to be burnt this morning too.
How much is the cannabis worth?
The cannabis, we have about 140 kilograms of cannabis worth about $550,000, and I think there's 161.4 kilograms of cocaine worth over $8 million.
He says the force is making inroads in the fight against illegal drugs.
I think we are doing well in that area. We have some drugs here, some cases drugs that came through the post office, some from the various spots around the islands. So we are doing pretty good in that area.
Leader of the Democratic Labour Party, Viola De Pisa, urges government to use some of its gains to upgrade critical social services and pursue economic growth, among other things. Her comments come on the heels of yesterday's economic report by the Central Bank of Barbados. Our KAREEM Smith has more.
In a statement released hours after Tuesday's third quarter central bank report, De Pisa expressed disappointment with the fact that although government's revenue had increased through heavy taxation, no economic growth had been recorded. In response to the heavier tax burden placed on the Barbadian working class, De Pisa pointed to the need for immediate job creation and a return to a basket of protected groceries such as existed under the previous government's National Social Responsibility Levy regime. During yesterday's economic review, the central bank governor reported government had saved approximately $64 million in transfers due to revenues generated through the garbage and sewage contribution levy, among others. This, he said, resulted in an ease on the pressure of government finances. On the other hand, De Pisa argued that in addition to the need for an urgent revenue generation policy, gains from taxes like the GSC and other state-owned enterprises needed to be urgently accounted for, and suggested they should never have been shifted from the government's consolidated fund in the first place. She also expressed hope that with government's increased revenue, funds would be applied to social needs such as the acquisition of buses and garbage trucks. KAREEM Smith for Barbados.
The time has come for the region to develop a stronger maritime security strategy. That's the general consensus coming out of this morning's launch of the Regional Security Systems Maritime Security Project at the Radisson Aquatico Resort. In his remarks, Director of the Coastal Zone Management, Dr. Leo Brewster, called for the necessary framework to be introduced.
Given the significant importance of the marine areas to the economic development of most islands, and the diverse nature in which this domain can be leveraged for the attainment of national security, there is a need to achieve greater coherence and coordination across the myriad of stakeholders and competing interests within the social, economic, and environmental pillars in nation states, and by extension, the Caribbean region. This can be achieved with the creation and adoption of an ocean governance framework and a maritime security strategy to properly chart the way to manage the maritime resources and delineating a path for improved coordination of maritime security cooperation among the 7-nation bloc.
Extreme drought-like conditions affecting Barbados and the rest of the region has had an impact on well sources in St. Lucie. And the Barbados Water Authority said these conditions have resulted in less available groundwater and increased salinity in the wells supplying some St. Lucie and St. Peter districts. The BWA said in an effort to help the situation and give some relief to the affected areas at peak times, nightly shutoffs will remain in place. Areas will also be serviced by water tankers as a temporary measure.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
It's Festive Friday at the Bridgetown Night Market at Pelican Craft Center. Kick off the weekend this Friday from 4 p.m. to midnight with loads of food, drinks, and entertainment. Get ready for Crop Over with the Rhythm Roots Street Parade. Party like it's Kadooman Day on the street around Pelican Village with costume reveler, music, and more. It's Festive Friday. It's Festive Friday at the Bridgetown Night Market at Pelican Village Center from 4 p.m. to midnight. Admission free.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To news from the region, a former agriculture minister says St. Lucia must take stock of the use of pesticides to avoid making the mistakes of neighboring French-speaking countries. We get the details in this report from HTS News Force.
Parliamentary representative for Vieux-Fort North and SLP spokesman for Health, Agriculture, Fisheries and Food Production, Moses Jean-Baptiste, spoke to the media about the pesticide pollution problems of neighboring French islands Guadeloupe and Martinique. Chlordecone, labeled as potentially carcinogenic, cancer-causing, by the World Health Organization, is very slow to break down in the environment. Experts say contamination in the soil can persist for centuries. Jean-Baptiste says that the effects have been significant for the islanders.
Since the 1970s, it was suspected that many agrochemicals were possible carcinogens, and there was a lot of debate and demonstration and so on, protests, and only in the 1990s something was officially declared. And now the French government, as I'm sure you have read, are trying their very best to not only stem the public criticism, but I have read that they're trying to, they've been compensating farmers and people.
Chlordecone, labeled as potentially carcinogenic, cancer-causing by the World Health Organization, is very slow to break down in the environment. Experts say contamination in the soil can persist for centuries. Jean-Baptiste says that the effects have been significant for residents of the islands.
And finally, the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library is under threat from a new blaze near Los Angeles as several wildfires rage across California. Weather officials placed the region under a rare extreme red flag warnings as gusts approach hurricane level speeds of over 74 miles per hour. We get more in this report from Reuters TV.
Flames surrounded the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library outside Los Angeles Wednesday after a new brush fire erupted in Ventura County's Simi Valley, forcing mandatory evacuations. Named the Easy Fire, one of several burning in California, the blaze quickly grew. A long wall of orange flames and thick gray smoke could be seen just down the slope from Reagan Library, which houses records of the former president. Meanwhile, the Getty fire, which caused thousands in Los Angeles to evacuate this week, was 15% contained as of early Wednesday. And according to investigators, the blaze was likely started when a tree branch fell onto power lines during high winds.
This was, simply put, in plain parlance, an act of God.
For firefighters, conditions could not be worse. The National Weather Service issued an unprecedented extreme red flag warning in Southern California ahead of 2 days of intense dry wind gusts.
And that's news. But for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on ISB Media and bus terminals, as well as PLEA at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. Good evening.